Hey, what is up everybody, Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video guys, we're going to be going ahead and at least doing the unit review for the man Akechi here, seeing he was the next in line for these characters. So if you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video, and as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out quite a lot. I'm going to continue pushing on from here. Now I do have to say one thing, this was one character that has quite literally the potential of a god. Him and Yusuke are the absolute potential characters inside of this game, and the reason I have to say this immediately is because Akechi isn't really a bad unit. He just is a unit with room to grow. With everything that he does have inside of his kit, unfortunately he does fall a little bit short. At the end of the day, he is a sub DPS, but with that in mind, he scales mainly off the main DPS's damage. This is still something that's pretty decent. He does do at least a well job at that. But if you're not really going for awarenesses, it's kind of where he kind of drops off. So let's just not dig into that at least too much here. The character himself is pretty dang well rounded. So let's go ahead and check out his awarenesses, and I'll tell you guys exactly which ones are really worth it. So when it comes down to at least his awarenesses, I do have to say the ones that are pretty decent are really just the expensive ones. To be honest, his A1 is worth to some degree, but to be honest, I feel like you can just go ahead and deal with the A0, because if I'm actually going to vouch for this character, the A6 is the only thing that's really worth it. And that's mainly because it allows you to abuse as much of his kit as possible, increasing his crit rate and his crit damage accordingly, while also allowing you to record 50% of the recorded damage of Arrow of Clarity. This also allows his Golden Arrow Rain, aka his almighty skill, to deal even more damage. And pretty much all allies now are treated as his detective partner, which is another thing that he can do, which allows him to just pretty much deal as much damage as possible. Whenever this is at least happening, he's getting a 25% increase, so that's pretty darn good for him. Inside a battle with at least the A6, he's also allowing himself to get more crit rate and crit damage, and anything that is over 100% here, he will then have the highest crit rate and crit damage upon all your detective partners here. This is just gonna, in all total just sense here, the highest there that's a part of the detective partners, the more damage he's gonna deal, and he gets even more so bonuses off this. It pretty much makes him a wholehearted DPS and makes him even more dangerous than he ever imagined being. So this is one of the few things I can say. Unfortunately, A1 just isn't worth it. A6 is definitely worth it, and if anything, you can really just stick with the A0. So for the A0 here, at the start of the battle, he ends up giving his highest attack, at least attack ally, detective partner. This only prioritizes really your single target DPSs and your AoE DPSs, so surely do keep that in mind. But alongside of this here, whoever at least is his detective partner, he gains himself a 25% of attack, up to at least an extra bonus of base attack being 500, 750, or 1000, and it does based on at least the level. So if you're level 1, you get a base amount of attack of 500, level 50 base amount of attack of 750, and level 70 up is base amount of attack of 1000. Now of course, whenever you do have your detective partner deal damage, this will then be recorded. Pretty much this recording allows Akechi to do something similar whenever he uses his Arrow of Clarity, which is going to be with his Golden Arrow Rain Annihilate. That's going to be his third skill. When he does utilize this, he takes that recorded damage and uses it a little bit extra to deal some decent damage himself. Now he only gets one of these stacks of Arrow of Clarity based on the recorded damage, so you do want to make sure it's the highest damage that you can really deal in order to take advantage over his third skill. Now the A0 is pretty nice. Sets up everything that you pretty much need to have. Seeing he is a sub DPS type character, it's all you really do need. So with this man being lacking on stats, especially as a sub DPS, he kind of falls very short, and if your DPS is not strong enough, it makes him look even worse. But that's just talking about the at least the awarenesses here. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at his skills. So checking out the skills here, there's only going to be a few that you guys really want to go ahead and look at, and that is going to be the skill 1 and skill 3. Now if you are playing a character that is like a curse typing or mainly any other type of character, because this character can be paired with all different types of teams here, you will have to change up how your skills are doing. The best way I can say this here, no matter what, try to increase at least your skill 3 first. Skill 3 is going to be your main important one because it's the main common usable one for all different characters. And the main reason I say this is because this is almighty damage. Doesn't matter what you're facing, doesn't matter what you're against, this is going to deal some damage. With this in mind here, even with the team that you're going to be utilizing, this is going to be your most important skill. All in all, if you're going to be utilizing the Akechi in total, you want to get up everything and just save at least the combat skills for last, because his ult isn't really too important. It's more or less just these skills to help you get everything built up in his kit to then allow him to deal as much damage as possible. So do keep in mind, you will need this man to act last so you can at least get the recording needed to then deal some damage with this. But to start off with the most important one, which is Golden Arrow Rain here, this one allows you to take a Arrow of Clarity and it then deals a certain percentage of damage, which is the percentage on top of the Arrow of Clarity's recorded damage to deal almighty damage to everyone. It pretty much then shoots 4 arrows of chaos, which also deals some damage as well, dealing almighty damage to random foes. It's pretty decent. It does have a decent amount of scaling, but at the end of the day, this is going to be his most important skill, and it can very well do very bad if your just characters aren't really up to par. If my Joker ends up hitting like 100k on an ultimate, and that is the recorded damage that he's going to end up recording, he's most likely going to do even less than that 100k. In fact, it's probably going to be 80k to 70k, who knows. It honestly just kind of depends, and that's where this character kind of falls flat. He can still be a sub DPS, but I feel like his reliance on at least the actual DPS is very bad, especially at awareness 0. If you're at least at a 6, you can then start at least manipulating that amount of damage he can really do and truly make him a useful sub DPS to say. So with this in mind, we're going to go ahead and check out the Vow of Justice, which is the skill 1. This skill you're going to use a lot if you're using a blessed team. It's going to be more of your actual setup here, in which what this does here, it does attack damage based on bless itself. If you go ahead and have this, it's a decent little bit of a percentage of at least attack damage of that bless amount, and then alongside of this, you are restoring some HP to your allies. This also gives you 1 stack of bless, and then Crow himself will gain a stack of truth and gains a stack of clarity. This is going to help him for 2 whole turns, which increases all allies damage dealt by 19.5%. As for the second skill here, which is Unjust Hunting Ground here, it does a little bit of curse damage to all enemies. You also gain a stack of truth and then gain a stack of chaos for 2 whole turns. So if you use the stack of chaos, which is usually what you're going to be utilizing anyways, because he's going to be on multiple teams anyways, if you go ahead and utilize this, it decreases the enemy's defense by 25.4%. So now you get to see a little bit more of that sub DPS side of things. He's technically being a debuffer while still preparing for his damage in the next round. He then adds 1 more shot to Arrow of Chaos, and it gives actually a damage dealt increase by 19.5%, much like Vow of Justice. Now you're going to be utilizing this probably the most, if I'm being honest. If you're going to go ahead and just throw him to different teams, that is the good part. He's very flexible in that type of standpoint because he doesn't really have to be bound to a blessed team. In fact, he can be useful on all different types of teams, but at the end of the day, the main common thing will be how much damage can your main DPS do, or at least do itself. That's a little bit of a problem. That's where things get a little bit cloudy, where his moveset isn't really going to save him too often. It's more or less going to be how much damage your main can do, and then he can try and follow suit. That's a little bit of a problem with this character, but hey, who knows? It might change in the future if they decide to buff him a little bit again. Now going ahead and taking a look at least his weapons here, the weapon I do say that I would rather keep is just a 4-star weapon. Granted, the 5-star weapon can technically be worth it if you do have it, and which is called Seraph's Heart. The main reason I don't have it here is because the character himself is still lacking a lot in his kit. Seeing how he is, he's just not dealing enough, or at least showing enough results with how he can currently do at A0. His kit feels like it's a little bit missing something, at least at that A0 form, that not even the A1 can kind of make up for. It's really in that issue part, which is so sad to say, correlates to his card set as well, which is a little bit of a disappointment. I don't really like it too much, to be honest. As a character, I love the character himself, but they kind of did him dirty, especially with at least the weapons itself. To be honest, the 4-star weapon is more than enough, though if you really want to go ahead and get that extra collection, Seraph Heart is pretty decent as well, because you do get a boost in attack percentage. You also get yourself Clarity and Chaos, which increases your allies attack percentage by 2 whole turns. This is kind of interesting, but the real one that you want to pay attention to is the 3rd effect on that skill, because to be honest, we don't really care about our allies attack besides our detective partner. And we do kind of care about Akechi's, but really he's just going to be taking in importance whoever his main DPS is, which is kind of why I outright just disregard the attack percentage that you get. The main thing that we want to pay attention to with the 5-star weapon is if you do have it on, whenever the detective partner does use a persona skill highlight or a follow-up hit, it will then increase his crit damage by 15% for 2 whole turns, and this can stack. So that's probably like the best thing if you really want to say the 5-star weapon is worth it. Though in all honesty, I still feel like the 4-star is all you really need for now. It gives you the almighty damage that you have. Then you're going to just be recording the damage that your main DPS is going to do. I think that's more than enough. But some people may disagree with me. Plus, either way, I like to have the lightsaber. Just looks cool. But anyways, now that we went over the weapon here, let's go ahead and actually showcase what he can do in battle. Now, I think the best way to showcase his character is to just have him with a really powerful DPS. Now, you can use him, as I did say before, with any type unit. This is something that is possible, right? You can use him with any unit itself, but the only common knowledge is you want to make sure that he's dealing a decent bit of damage. The only way to make this really happen is to make sure that the character that you're utilizing will also deal a decent bit of damage. So if Joker is hitting very high, he will start to hit very high. If Joker is hitting very low, well, then he will hit very low. But we're mainly just going to be doing this to showcase at least how he looks, or at least his actual skills here. So take it with a grain of salt of the damage that he's going to do, because I'm not really going to set up anything. So first things first, here we're going to go ahead and show off the highlight just to showcase how it looks here, in which is pretty interesting. Goes ahead and aims, takes a shot, in which shows both the arrows hitting, well, the arrow and the bullet hitting, dealing some decent damage. Pretty okay, pretty nice, cool to see, but really nothing too crazy. Now, if we go ahead and check, our character went first. I actually want to go ahead and make sure we actually do some hits here, because we do want to make sure he has it recorded. Now, you don't really use his little mask thing here. It's not really needed, because that's going to be your golden arrow later on. If I'm being honest, the mask, I really don't ever see a use for it, because he automatically makes a detective partner anyways. But if you do need to, of course, use it, you very well can. I just don't feel like it's really a necessary thing, just because he automatically does it himself. So I mean, like, not sure why he did this, or why this is kind of here. It doesn't really showcase anything, to at least my knowledge. So yeah, you can go ahead and select the detective partner. This is going to help you out with the arrow of clarity. So let's go ahead and do this. He's going to be our attack up that we have. Now that we've selected our detective partner immediately, that's going to be the one that we're going to be recording, even though he technically does this by himself. But first things first, we're going to use this, in which that is the skill 2. That's how it shows you everything here. You get defense down, pretty nice, pretty cool. But we're going to be copying some of the damage that we deal here. So just to make this something, I guess, a little bit interesting, let's just go ahead and actually debuff a little bit so you guys can actually see how this character works. So we're going to go ahead and do this, move this on over. And then for our own good, let's go ahead and pop off with the skill 3. So first things first, I'm just going to pop this here, allowing me to do a little bit of damage here. And so we did how much? 31k. Now, once again, this character will try to copy some of his person's damage as well. So if we go ahead and pop off Doom Pursue, only did 24k. We're going to get at least our extra turn. Go ahead and do this again real quick. How much do we get? 37k. Now, of course, Akechi is then going to take that recorded amount, which I don't know why he did that twice there, but He's going to now take that recorded amount and try to do something a little bit similar. So now that we've done this here, let's go ahead and use our skill 3 to actually showcase what we can do. Go ahead and pop this on off, the AoE, in which then shoots these arrows, and it does something accordingly. As you can kind of see, we did a decent bit of damage to the main target, seeing it hit him multiple times. As for the other 2 targets, they only took around 24k. So you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Our initial damage with Joker was like 34k. He did 24k, seeing that was just enough to kill the enemies. And then since there were still leftover arrows, those leftover arrows only hit the boss, in which he did a whopping 70k. It can be very helpful, but seeing that it's more of an AoE type of deal, you want to use it on AoE type targets, and you guys can kind of see the amount of damage that you really get out of it. Now that was just of course the skill 3, and of course we've already showed the skill 2, so we're gonna go ahead and try to show off the skill 1. Hopefully we don't get bodied here, because the boss doesn't seem too happy with us, so hopefully we're able to live through everything that he throws at us real quick. Okay, cool. And we can finally show off the skill 1. Now skill 1 is called Vow of Justice. Looks like this, shoots a little light ball, and it now allows us to heal up a little bit off the blessed stacks. Pretty interesting. The character himself is pretty awesome. You do just want to go ahead and make sure you have your detective partner. For the most part, normally you don't have to select them, if I'm correct. I think it's usually just like, you don't have to select it if you have what is it called, the A1 or something like that. Maybe I'm getting confused with another character. I can't remember if I usually select them. I'm pretty sure I do, but that is what you really want to be doing to allow him to record the actual fight and be able to continue from there. Now our game ended up freezing this time for real, so we're gonna have to close it out here. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, please do smash that like button with your forehead. Consider subscribing if you are new. But till then, everybody, peace out.